Star Wars fans love to complain about the state of the franchise since the sale to Disney. Whether it's mixed reception of the movies, quality of the merchandise, or how they feel about new characters introduced, but Star Wars is probably suffering the worst in the gaming department. There hasn't been a new mainline Star Wars multiplayer game released since 2017's Star Wars Battlefront II by EA and DICE Studios, and the re-releases, well...
I can't. No, I hit him. I'm trying. I'm trying. I can't.
Let's not get into that. That said, I'd say the overall best experience right now is EA's Star Wars Battlefront II. Or I would if there wasn't one minor detail. It's loaded with cheats.
Our forces are taking control of the objective.
No matter what you do, sooner or later, you're going to run into a cheater on this game, and the game is absolutely in worse condition for it. We have invincibility cheats, one-shot headshots, flying characters, and much more. For example, playing Heroes and Villains one day, I noticed one of my own teammates cheating blatantly. Initially, it just looks like Anakin spamming his abilities, but you'll notice here, he's used his Passionate Strike 3 times in a row. That ability normally has a 13-second cooldown, and yes, PS Fighter can reduce that, but even then, it's a 9-second cooldown at the earliest. Also, he teleports and refills himself constantly through the fight. Truly disgusting, blatant cheating. Eventually, he drops the pretense and just spams all across the map, so that's one type of hacking to keep an eye out for. Another one was while I was on Naboo, standard map, running for the objective, and we get shot. Doesn't seem like a big deal until we see the battle droid jump 100 feet into the air and hovering. This forced me into the air as the only alternative in the fight because there was no way to fight this droid who constantly teleported and one-shotted everyone on the map. But this is the most linear that most cheats get. Sometimes they get a little worse. Let's go to Kashyyyk for the next one. Here, my troops are deployed for another standard galactic assault, but you'll notice something unusual down here. What is this? This is a hacker spawning in exploded AATs on our field. This prevents players from spawning in actively, and for the players on the field already, slows their game to a crawl. Another battle gets bad. Not only can no character spawn, but the camera just flies through the level, and ultimately, the hacker just decides to end the game for everyone with a single click, with a very powerful admin tool. I think my favorite was the one where I couldn't see anyone, just an aftermath glitch where all the characters, including me, I think, were invisible, but only to certain people. There's also a variation of this where the whole screen is blacked out for most or all players. Personally, I played one of my best Obi-Wan games under these conditions, but it's so bad that we had to experience it. Somehow, these are worse than the immortality cheat from a few years ago when the admin passwords got leaked onto the server. That's when no player could die, at all, and everyone would always live on 1 health, like a focus sash in Pokemon, but for everyone, all of the time. And that, well, that was messy. And probably the most annoying one is the free cam cheat, where, well, the camera flies around the battlefield freely, and while I do admit it's a nice tour of the battlefield, it's not exactly how I want to get around, especially when I can't see myself move. Now, keep in mind, Battlefront 2 is an inherently unfair game. You can spawn in as a regular stormtrooper with a regular blaster rifle and have to face off against an oncoming tank in an instant. Then, if you survive that and manage to flank it, you can walk right into a Jedi with a lightsaber, run away and find yourself getting blown to pieces by a guy in a jetpack flying by with a missile launcher. So you'll never have an outright fair fight, at least not in large-scale game modes. But the real issue with these cheats is that they impact the core of gameplay. If I get hit turning a corner by someone who's put 4,000 hours into practicing the NT-242 sniper rifle, I can shrug that off. I'll probably kill them with a tank or a jet trooper later when they're not paying attention, or I might be able to counter-snipe them myself with a specialist or item. If I get stuck outside the map with an AT-AT that's buried under the snow on Hoth, I can't respond to that. It's not about being better or worse like a normal loss would be. It's not even lucky or unlucky, it's just boring. The best way to address a hacker, frankly, is to rally your fellow players and leave. Don't swear, don't get mad, just report their username from the scoreboard, and then leave the match. You can play another game mode and try a different lobby later. As of this recording, I mostly see hackers on Galactic Assault at odd hours. I'll see them on Supremacy, and obviously they show up on Heroes vs Villains, likely because these three modes are the most popular, and there are more people to harass. If you still want to scratch your Battlefront itch, here are the top 5 modes to switch to when there's a hacker present. Yeah, I know, killing bots en masse isn't usually the most challenging or competitive way to play Battlefront 2, but this mode is the least impacted by cheaters, mostly because it can impact you as the player. You're mowing down hordes of AI soldiers who don't think or feel, they follow attack patterns and melt under pressure anyway. You'd barely notice if someone was sniping with an aimbot, because, well, the bots are typically weaker than a player character anyway, and you'll have time to practice a hero. With only 4 players, it doesn't take too long to get a lobby, and everyone gets a hero. Some maps do get downright challenging. Geonosis Co-op's last point can be a real meat grinder, depending on how you play, so it can be fun to figure out how to beat those sorts of battles. An overall underrated game mode, Starfighter Assault is my personal favorite. I love flying iconic ships like the X-Wing and Droid Starfighter in the battle. The objective-based game modes are varied and fun to learn too. I'm a bit biased because I grew up on Rogue Squadron, but that doesn't make it a bad mode. It's almost like an entirely separate game within the game, and it's a good change of pace from the regular run-and-gun arcade shooting. Also, for the most part, I find the hero ships a lot easier to deal with than a saber hero in a hallway. Because of the completely different style of gameplay, you have to learn different ship classes, their strengths, their weaknesses, locations of enemy objectives, and frankly, what your goal is in any given map. Battlefront 2 isn't great at explaining objectives to new players, but you'll pick it up eventually. Maybe I should make a series on how to beat each Starfighter Assault map. Let me know in the comments down below. Yeah, now I'm cheating with this one, but a speedrun of the story mode can be pretty fun. Granted, Aiden and Dell's story isn't nearly as, well, nuanced as we wanted it to be, but the set pieces are pretty cool, and there are a ton of Easter eggs for you to find. It gives me a certain amount of nostalgia from when even mostly multiplayer games still had a fully fleshed out single player experience, and that's just great. It's reminiscent of both a Rogue Squadron and a Jedi Outcast-esque experience, since you'll be flying X-Wings and TIEs along with shooting stormtroopers and swinging lightsabers. I hear about players who constantly complain about enemy heroes coming in and ruining their firefights, and that they want a mode without heroes. Well, here it is. It's Blast. You want Blast. Blast is a typical team deathmatch, like older Halo and Unreal Tournament games. You run around as infantry and a few reinforcements to tactically kill the other team. Last team standing wins. Granted, some factions are more balanced than others. The game is basically over when the Imperials get a group of Death Troopers together. But otherwise, it's a good experience, and one that most cheaters tend to ignore. I can't say enough good things about Ewok Hunt. It's just a fun, silly game mode, especially if you like horror movies. You and a group of surviving stormtroopers need to make your way through the pitch-dark forest moon of Endor. Well, most of you are. 2 players in the lobby will be transformed into Ewoks in an attempt to prevent you from escaping the moon in time. Think of it as Among Us, but with laser rifles. The Ewoks can take advantage of traps, shortcuts, and brilliant night vision, whereas the stormtroopers need to rely on their wits, numbers, and whatever weapons they can find hanging around. It requires a different set of skills and thinking than your normal galactic assault and supremacy, so there isn't a lot of hacking brain rot in those servers. It makes for a fun game, especially with friends in a voice chat. The best part is, death isn't the end of the round like in many games. You just become an Ewok if one defeats you. Big fan of this mechanic. Regardless, you still want to play the game in a functional, fun way so you can enjoy yourself. And sadly, there isn't much you can do about this in-game, other than reporting a player from the scoreboard and not engaging in a game with the cheater. That's about all you can do. On the bright side, there are modes that cheaters don't tend to play, or if they do, they don't do it very well. If you run into a cheater, try switching to these modes. But that's just my opinion, agents. What do you think? I'd love to hear your opinion on how to deal with cheaters on PC, or even your best insults from them, in the comments down below. Until then, Darth Magog is signing out, and I'm on the leader.